And at 10, Fredbear's Golden Freddy. One theory I've seen plenty of times, and I'm pretty sure is mostly because of FNAF 4, is that Golden Freddy and Fredbear are the same animatronic, suggesting that the reason Golden Freddy is all limp in the original FNAF and FNAF 2 is because his endoskeleton was removed after Crying Child's bite in 1983, and that's why the suit has to teleport around and cause hallucinations, because it can't actually, move. This would also probably mean that Crying Child was the one in the Golden Freddy suit. However, we know this isn't true based on the characters being separate in Ultimate Custom Night, and just coloring and size, since Golden Freddy is much smaller than Fredbear would be. I mean, at least I hope. Since Fredbear would also have to accommodate a human, and Golden Freddy wouldn't have to necessarily, since he would just be an animatronic and not a spring-locked suit. But then again, we don't know, cause this is FNAF. And at 9, Yendo. Yendo might initially appear to be just the endoskeleton of Funtime Freddy, but it's more likely that he's the endoskeleton of another version of Freddy that's not yet suited, as Yendo has a right hand where Funtime Freddy would normally have a bonbon attached, but I mean, he's able to swap out the hand and you know. Many believe that the name Yendo though, which seems to be a combo of yellow and endo, alludes to him being an endoskeleton of a golden variation of Funtime Freddy, or just the original Golden Freddy endoskeleton that was removed prior to the first and second game. But I mean, again, I don't think so. And at 8, it's me. There are only 2 people who have gotten this Easter egg to my knowledge, and it involves the Curse of Dreadbear DLC and completing a game to be taken to the victory screen. There in that barn you'll find 3 posters reminiscent of the ones from the Alleyway and Pizzeria Simulator. However, this is where the ability to unlock this Easter egg is determined. You need to get 3 clown posters, which is incredibly rare. I mean, you can get 3 of any of the other ones, but not 3 clowns. Trust me. And because I mean incredibly rare. Plus, then you need to hit them all with darts, which you only get 4 of, and if you miss 2 of them, you're boned. I've looked for this Easter egg for hours on both my personal channel during live streams and even on this one during a live stream from the previous lockdown, since I want to find this myself so I can prove to myself that it exists. Since if you manage to do this, the barn seemingly changes to a blacklight version, where the victory screen banner changes to read "It's me" and everything starts glowing because of a blacklight. YouTubers Johnny Blocks and apparently Daco are the only 2 to have gotten this Easter egg from what I've seen and what I've been told in the comments, but I haven't seen Daco actually get it. Not even MatPat was able to get this, and Eddie VR wasn't really trying. Some think that this is because Golden Freddy still has a hold on the FNAF world, and wherever Glitch Trap, or I guess William is, Golden Freddy will follow, because like Freddy and Foxy, they will chase after each other until the ends of reality. And at 7, the logbook. Some believe that there are 2 spirits possessing the security logbook, one of them being Golden Freddy and the other is the Crying Child. But I believe that these altered texts aren't another spirit, since it wouldn't really make much sense for 2 spirits to communicate in different ways, one using faded text and the other altering what was already in the book, and that seems very difficult. But I believe that these are hallucinations that we're seeing from Mike's perspective, but most believe the other spirit to be Golden Freddy. Why? Because they also believe that both spirits share the same animatronic. More on that later. But also, that's weird to me. Why would they both share the book, but also the animatronic? And why would they have to communicate through the book? Wouldn't they just be able to be like, yo, hey, this is me psychically communicating to you? And at 6, Phone Guy. We do hear Golden Freddy's jump scare at the end of the phone recording on night 4. We also hear Freddy's music implying that Phone Guy ran out of power. But is it possible that all the animatronics were present at this time and that Freddy therefore just took part in killing Phone Guy? Cause if not, I would suggest that Golden Freddy at least didn't work alone. I mean, it would make sense with the 2 Freddys teaming up to take down the Phone Guy together, sharing their victory, I guess? But Golden Freddy being the culprit is also supported by the stuttering and murmuring we hear in the night 5 phone call, because that sounds an awful lot like the auditory hallucinations Golden Freddy causes us to experience throughout the nights. And come on, if anyone's going to kill Phone Guy, it's going to be Golden Freddy, let's just be honest. Phone Guy crashed a desktop. Halfway through, and at number 5, emotions. Now, you see, Golden Freddy has a lot of powers, and frankly, we don't understand why. My theory, though, is that they're actually the different emotions that we can experience, because let's be honest, a suit that is able to transport itself through walls and through doors is just redonk. So I'm guessing that while also experiencing agony, Golden Freddy is hella angry, and that anger is definitely what causes it to crash our game, to make it say it's me, to just make us see all kinds of crazy shit. It has to be the other emotions. I mean, what other explanation could there be? Sure, maybe he's doing it to try to signify that he's our brother, but he has to be able to do it somehow. And other than other emotions, we don't know what else it could be. We've seen no other explanation. Scott hasn't given one to us, it hasn't been in the games, even Fazbear Frights hasn't explained it. All they've given us is that emotions can be powerful or they can be unpowerful, but agony lets us possess things. So if that is the case, then what would anger do? What would sadness do? What would happiness do? I mean, I doubt any dead kids are experiencing happiness, but I mean, hey, maybe they've figured out how cruel the world is and are now happy they don't have to pay rent. I don't know. Either way, it makes a lot of sense to me, and you know what, I'm gonna keep believing it until I'm proven otherwise. In at 4, the one you should not have killed. The one you should not have killed is, I guess, the main antagonist of Ultimate Custom Night. The character who most believed to be Cassidy is the one who's causing this whole situation, trapping William in his own mind while keeping him alive in order to torture him for his crimes. And while this may still be Cassidy, I think it could be Crying Child. I have a whole theory with my evidence as to why, so go check that out if you're interested. But no matter who it is, the one you should not have killed can't really be Golden Freddy from the looks. While the evidence certainly seems to point us in that direction, now we know that William isn't in hell or in purgatory in this game, but rather trapped in his own body, thanks to the story The Man in Room 1280 from the Fazbear Frights Book 5 Bunny Call. There is evidence in the form of the Stitch Wraith that multiple souls can possess one thing, however we have not seen evidence of characters being able to possess multiple big things at once. Cause like there was a character who, at least from what I've been told, was able to possess a lot of little things, but nobody has possessed two animatronics at the same time, let alone an animatronic and a person. In fact, in Bunny Call, William had to die for Andrew to be able to move on to the Stitch Wraith. So based on that evidence that we've seen, the one possessing William and the one keeping him alive, the one you should not have killed, can't be the one in Golden Freddy. Getting close to the end in at number 3, Crying Child. Some people believe that the one possessing Golden Freddy is Crying Child. This is mostly based on the It's Me hallucinations from FNAF 1 and the reveal that his older brother has been our player character over the first 6 games, excluding FNAF 4. So why would people believe this? Well, like I said, it would explain Golden Freddy's signature line of It's Me, since if we do play as Michael Apton in the first game, It's Me could just be the Crying Child trying to communicate with his older brother to tell him who he is. It could also explain the constant use of the phrase "It's me" in the security logbook, since some also believe it to be possessed by the spirit of Golden Freddy, or the two spirits inside the book are also those inside Golden Freddy. Which honestly, it makes no sense to me, because why would they be posing as multiple, why would they be possessing multiple things, like I said. Anyway, with the line of "It's me" being explained easily with Crying Child being Golden Freddy, it leads some to the conclusion that that must be what Scott intended, but let's be honest, it's never that easy. Penultimately, in at number 2, the 2-eye theory. The 2-eye theory states that in the FNAF 3 bad ending, that there are 2 eyes lit up in the head and the back, which we're guessing is Golden Freddy. I mean, it's confirmed in the Freddy files, but yeah. To show that there are 2 souls inside the suit. This actually can't be the case, and I'm gonna tell you why. Firstly, it would be more difficult to tell that it was an animatronic if only one of the eyes was lit, because like all we see are the eyes and like a little bit of the mouth, and it could very well just be the reflection of the light since it's so dark. I mean, you gotta take into account how light works. Notice how Freddy and the other animatronics also have light coming out of their other eyes. Secondly, Crying Child wasn't a thing yet in the games. Not coming until the next game, that wasn't even supposed to happen until the community was disappointed with the Springtrap jump scare, since this was supposed to be the end of the series that was confirmed by Scott in an interview. That's why we released the Souls in the Happiest Day minigame. Also notice that only one person wears a Golden Freddy mask in that minigame, and according to the official Freddy Files Updated Edition book, quote, "You'll see an image of broken animatronic heads, each with a lit eye," meaning that Golden Freddy in the back has only one eye lit. And I mean, like, considering how this is an official guidebook to the series, we gotta take it as law, right? Finally, in at number 1, Cassidy. Since the beginning of FNAF, we've been wondering about the mysterious and seemingly supernatural Golden Freddy, the entity able to travel through solid doors and walls, who gave us hallucinations and crashed our game when they got to us. Who was this mysterious thing? Over the years, we got a few names, but none of them were for Golden Freddy, most notably because of the gravestone ending in FNAF 6. But even with that, Golden Freddy's name was never given to us. Like, thanks, Scott. And if they are the one that you should not have killed, or if they aren't the one you shouldn't have killed, the name wasn't given to us in Ultimate Custom Night either. Like, come on. But alas, we were finally saved when the FNAF survival logbook came out, where after jumping through hoops, more hoops than Shaq has dunked on, we uncovered the name Cassidy. Thanks to Reddit user DPowerful1 taking various wrong numbers on different pages and making them coordinates in the word search, which I have to admit is still pretty weird because 8 and 11 at the end they weren't wrong numbers, they were just numbers that were there, but okay. And since the name Cassidy only appears in one other place, that being the fourth closet, the character doesn't really seem to mean much to the series. I mean, like, in that sense, like, the person who died to possess Golden Freddy doesn't really seem to matter, and that's kind of unfortunate.
Number 10. Handprint. If you haven't noticed before, there is a clear handprint on Freddy Fazbear's face that sits just over his right eye. It appears to have small fingers, making it seem as though either the person who left it there was someone with very stubby little digits, perhaps someone young, or perhaps some other animatronic. We don't really know who left the handprint, but it also was prominently featured on the design for Freddy and Help Wanted. Though here it was more indented, so it was really even more emphasized. Overall, I think it makes the most sense for this to be a handprint belonging to someone younger, but still based on the fact that this is a video game and hands and character designs can obviously be stylized or be different from, real life where we have a lot of parts to our fingers, it could belong to an older victim as well. Perhaps even someone like William Afton when he was disguised in another suit. Perhaps many years ago, Freddy as an animatronic was attempting to stop William? I don't know. What do you think? Number 9. Allergic to soap. Scary in a gross way. This is more of a general theory in regards to the original cast featured in the first 5 Nights at Freddy's, but it definitely applies to Freddy 2 because of this. It seems as though Freddy and the crew have never been cleaned, like ever, since they went into service, and have likely never been serviced either, as the kids who went missing were never found. So, you'd have to actually do maintenance on them to find the kids, and they never found them, so you know what I'm saying. The evidence for this theory comes from something that Phone Guy says, stating on one of his recordings that he too would probably be in a bad mood if he hadn't had a bath in 20 years. This implies that the animatronics have seriously never been cleaned. Perhaps because doing so presumably causes damage to them. In fact, soap could be an effective tool used against the animatronics, now that I think about it, if you were thinking of doing harm to them. Just like wash them until they're destroyed. It is weird though, and pretty gross, that they haven't been cleaned or serviced in years. Even when I worked at a laser tag place, we cleaned and serviced our lasers and their packs regularly. And we actually used a special solution which would disinfect and clean without doing any damage to the inner workings of the lasers or the packs. Something I would suggest they invest in maybe at Freddy's. And friends, before we move on to the next part of this list, just a quick reminder to go down there and smash that like button. Every time you smash that like button, a new theory is uncovered somewhere. Is that a new FNAF theory I hear right now? Yeah, I feel like there was a few clicks. Number 8. Freddy killed Phone Guy. While we do hear Golden Freddy's jump scare at the end of the phone recording on night 4, we also hear Freddy's music, implying that Phone Guy ran out of power. It is possible that all animatronics were actually present at this time and that maybe we just didn't hear all of them, and that Freddy therefore also took part in ending Phone Guy. Otherwise, I would suggest that Golden Freddy at least didn't work alone, as Freddy was also there too. It would make sense that the two Freddys might team up to take down Phone Guy together, sharing in their victory over him. Which brings me to another point. Number 7. Shared consciousnesses? I guess we could say it that way too. What if all Freddys have a shared consciousness? A hive mind, if you will. The fact that they both make an appearance on the recording for night 4 where both can be heard could be used as evidence for this point. The message, "it's me," could actually have been misinterpreted by all of us and instead be Golden Freddy's attempt to let us know that the animatronic is actually also Freddy. Perhaps even Fredbear as well. Perhaps even Funtime Freddy. Perhaps even Glamrock Freddy. All the Freddys. If all Freddys shared a hive mind, what would this mean for what they know, or for their behavior overall throughout the games? How terrifying would it be if one Freddy was able to instantly know of your whereabouts based on another Freddy animatronic's findings? And also, yeah, I know this theory is kind of loose, doesn't have a lot of evidence, but it's a cool idea, so just come with me on this journey. It would be cool if the animatronics had some kind of hive mind. Number 6. Women's washroom. The significance of Freddy's ties ties to the women's washroom, where you can sometimes see him on the security cameras, is pretty eerie. Many, including Game Theory's MatPat, have drawn connections between the real-world killings that happened in a Chuck E. Cheese in Aurora, Colorado in 1993 to the game's lore and plot. All of the core animatronics from the first game seem to tie to one of the victims in their own way, and even the game itself, based on your earnings and hourly minimum wage rates, seems to be set in the early 90s. Freddy doesn't have as strong of a connection to the victim he's believed to represent, but his moving throughout the women's washroom is believed to be a loose tie to the female victim fans believe he could, in theory, represent. All in all, it's pretty creepy. Number 5. Freddy is behind the bite of 87. This one is pretty assured, I think, at this point, but also there are multiple bites and timelines are a bit, or well, a lot, unstable in the FNAF world. So also, maybe this isn't as confirmed as we all think it is. Who knows? Based on the cutscene we get in FNAF 4 where Crying Child attends the birthday party, it seems as though Freddy is behind that big bite, sinking his teeth into CC's head and in fact crushing it completely. I mean, I know they say that it was part of his brain, his frontal lobe, that was damaged, but I don't know. It looks to me like it was really the whole head there that got damaged. Youch. Which is also why I'm like, is this the same bite? Do we really know? I don't know. There is pretty solid evidence, obviously, to back this one up though. Although the timeline still remains something that really could be changed up at almost any point, as it's not quite as concrete throughout the games. I don't even, I mean, you know, we've talked about the timeline before, friends. You know how crazy it is. Number 4. Freddy is alive! What if we are wrong about the animatronics, or at least Freddy, and instead of being possessed by a spirit, he is in complete control because he is alive, and in fact an artificial intelligence? What if Freddy is the leader of the crew who planted murderous intentions in their heads because he is capable of independent thought, so he can actually manipulate others and is truly pure evil? In fact, if Freddy were actually the one in control the whole time, the spirit within him would be even more trapped than the others because it would have zero control. I just also like the idea of like AIs coming to life and being like, ha ha ha, I will do harm to you. Number 3. Freddy is possessed. On the other hand, there is the more solid theory that Freddy is in fact possessed, like the other core crew, by one of the spirits of the missing kids. Of course, initially we didn't really know just which child it could be, but from what we learned in the first game surrounding the mystery of the missing kids, it's heavily implied that the animatronics are in fact possessed by their vengeful spirits, and likely were used as a final resting place for their bodies based on the foul odor and pus and blood that was found in and around the animatronics. We also get more evidence to support the spirit's existence and possession of said animatronics in the minigames featured in FNAF 3. Number 2. Gabriel. Gabriel is believed to be the victim whose spirit lives on and possesses Freddy. Remember when I was like, oh, we don't really know who it is? We kinda do know who it is, sort of, if you believe this theory to be true. Where do we get the name Gabriel? From the gravestones featured in FNAF 6, which seem to have a very particular layout and order on the screen that matches up with the ending screen that we see in FNAF 3, where the animatronics' heads also lay in a neat row, like the graves we are shown in FNAF 6. Fans believe the sequence of these two images are actually meant to match up, meaning that the first gravestone aligning with Freddy's head, also being the first, would be the name of the victim that possesses him, hence Gabriel, because that's what's on that tombstone, as you're probably reading because we probably showed you the image while I was talking about it. Editing. Yay. Number 1. Freddy corrupted William Afton. Going back to my previous theory surrounding Freddy being an AI who has come to life and is in full control, what if it was Freddy that was actually behind the killings? Perhaps Freddy was the one who drove William Afton mad, planting the seed in his mind and driving him to do it. After all, from what we know of William Afton, he doesn't really seem like someone who would have reason to go on a killing spree. He is a father who is the head of a seemingly successful restaurant chain, so there kind of has to be something that caused him to fly off the handle. At least, I think so. I mean, I guess people can just do that without reason, but I can't accept that in terms of the story. Perhaps it wasn't a personal tragedy that did so, but instead was one of his own dangerously ambitious creations.
In a 10 handprint. It's fairly well known that Freddy's character model has a handprint on his face and chin. This is thought to be the hand of a victim of his, potentially the victim of the bite of 87, but also maybe even Afton's when he stuffed one of the missing children from the missing children's incident in the suit. But there is another image from the game that can actually debunk this theory and may give you a new view on that handprint. It'll also make you question everything about the series. The handprint could also be the handprint of who we play as in Help Wanted. Now I keep going back to this game, but in one of the endings to the game where we follow Glitch Trap in the Pizza Party minigame, you get put on stage holding a microphone, you being Freddy. You get stuffed into the animatronic suit with the other two standing beside you. So maybe it's your handprint, and we end up right back where we started the series. Maybe that's where Jeremy is, the playtester before you. Maybe he is next to you. I mean, one of the names of the original 5 who got stuffed is Jeremy, so maybe Afton's consciousness inside the game is reliving his past killings. Sorry, didn't mean for this to turn into a theory, but again, I have a point that can shut the whole it's a victim's handprint thing down later on, so stick around. And at 9, Kickstarter. It's a great website, hashtag not sponsored. It provides an outlet for creators to get their projects out there and get funded by people who like the idea. I've actually considered using it for several things in the past, but never actually done it. Unlike Scott Cawthon, who actually put Five Nights at Freddy's up on Kickstarter before starting production. The game with its popularity now would have crushed its $10,000 pledge goal, but in actuality, nobody knew about this game and nobody knew how good it would be. It never made a dime. I mean, it was taken off Kickstarter after 3 days, like Scott cancelled the Kickstarter with no funds raised, and at one point considered abandoning the game, so rough. We know how successful the original game was, so what would have changed if Scott had raised this money? Would the game have been better, worse, the same? It's unknown, and while at the time it may have seemed like a lost cause fighting for the life of his game dev career, Scott persevered and has probably a jacuzzi full of money thanks to this series. This is one hell of an inspirational story. It's like that image of someone digging underground with like a huge area full of diamonds like an inch away, but he's walking back because he gave up. Keep the grind going, stay inspired, do what you love even if you aren't making money from it, because one day you may get the shot you've always wanted, or maybe even never thought you could. And an 8 nose goes. We all know about clicking the nose on the Freddy's poster making a squeaking noise, and this doesn't change in each game, with the exception of Help Wanted since you can't really click on the posters, but the clown posters in the DLC squeak when you hit them with a dart. However, in the original game, clicking Freddy's little button nose can result in him jump scaring you. This doesn't happen unless Freddy is outside your door, since that's the closest he can get. If you don't close the door and decide to taunt Freddy by squeaking the nose of his poster, he doesn't need to wait until you bring up the monitor. That squeaking must just trigger him so bad that he would just kill you for it. Well, maybe, it's only a chance, but it's pretty interesting and something I didn't know since I always run out of power instead of risking my life like that. I'm not good at power management. And at 7, head goes. In the West Hall corner in FNAF 1 Camera 2B, you can see a poster of Freddy on one of the walls. While Bonnie can cover this poster up, it, like many other posters in that game and throughout the series, can switch. While the posters that change show the crying child and Golden Freddy, there was one rare screen that you can find that has Freddy taking his own head off. This could just be an Easter egg, but some people believe that this is the spirit of the child who was stuffed into him, showing how he wants to be released and move on to the afterlife. Others think that it was Phone Guy since he dies fighting off the animatronics in the 4th night of the first game, but Freddy can and does remove his own head, similar to what we see Bonnie do in the trailer for the first game, removing his head to show his endoskeleton instead of a jump scare. See, this time I said his because my brain isn't fried. And at 6, pattern. Freddy, unlike most animatronics who can travel to any room on the respective side, has a set path that he follows every time. This being the show stage, dining area, restrooms, kitchen, East Hall corner, office. He is never in your blind spot, making him be able to scare you from the door next to your office, but also slightly easier to track, and once he's at your door you're pretty much screwed. However, Freddy will never move when the cameras are on, even if you aren't looking at him. If you're viewing a camera, he will not move. This can be used as a strategy if you know where the other animatronics are. This pattern can be used to your advantage as well as his movement, but it can still be used against you if you're not paying attention. Just don't click the nose. It's interesting how he has a pattern while the other animatronics don't. Perhaps he knows how to get to you, and that you're his main objective. And at number 5, stalking. Freddy doesn't move for the first few nights. When he becomes active, he makes a beeline for you and will kill you any chance he gets. He doesn't move if the camera is on because he's trying not to be a concern, and if you think about it, that's exactly what he should be doing. If he only moves when the cameras are off, it could cause you to run out of power because you're always looking for him. He hides in the shadows, so it takes you more time to notice him, and he is always looking right at the camera to know if it's on. This is why he waits. Sure, it makes sense in the game, making it harder as you go on, but it's also him learning. He's the leader of the gang and the smartest of them all. He sends Bonnie and Chica after you so that he can learn how you defend yourself, so he can ultimately strike you where it hurts. He's stalking you, learning about you, like any good villain does. He knows his enemy. Like any good villain does, he knows his enemy. And that makes him all the more frightening. And at 4 originally static. While now Freddy is known to come down the east hallway, making some station stops to your office, he wasn't originally intended to do so. He actually was intended to just stand at the show stage and let his minions come after you. He is the only animatronic in the game with 2 jump scares, because he was originally intended to only scare you if you ran out of power, but then Scott decided to let him come after you at night 3, perhaps because the game was too easy otherwise, or maybe Freddy just decided to start moving and Scott accepted it. The game would be totally different if Freddy was stationary. There wouldn't be some form of meta surrounding his movement, and the only time you'd really get to see him is if you ran out of power, which is weird because the game is called Five Nights at Freddy's, so if Freddy wasn't coming for you, it kind of ruins it. I mean, like, I know the establishment is Freddy's and that's why it's Five Nights at Freddy's, but like, come on. If Freddy didn't do anything, it'd be kinda lame. And at 3, instant kill. One of the most mysterious questions of all is the bite of 87. In the first Five Nights game, people thought that we could get some more clues or maybe hints to the series, or maybe even a secret ending. So in an effort to solve the most mysterious question of all, who really 100% caused the bite of 87, players for the custom Night 7 and Five Nights 1 had the original core 4 animatronics of Foxy, Bonnie, Chica, and Freddy with the levels 1, 9, 8, and 7 to try to get a secret ending or perhaps a clue. However, Scott knew people would be assuming this would work, so in an effort to shut rumors down, he added that if you do this, you will get immediately jump scared by Golden Freddy, which while not providing a secret ending may give us some clues. Maybe it was Golden Freddy who caused the bite after all, hence why he is decommissioned in the first game, and that it would be the second incident since he caused the crying child to die in 1983. So I retract my previous statement that Mangle was the cause, because at this point I don't know. But nobody ever mentioned this to me in the comments, especially when claiming it was Golden Freddy or Freddy at all, so I didn't know about this until now, so don't yell at me. And at 2, his handprint. I've mentioned both the handprint and him taking his own head off in the poster earlier in this list, but the handprint on his face, while many assume it to be proof he caused the bite of 87 or that it was the phone guy or the kid who got stuffed, is in fact most likely his own hand. That handprint is pretty big, covering both his eye and more, which, since he's a 7-foot tall animatronic, makes that hand pretty large. And who would really need to put their hand on his face? Anyone who would be getting bit wouldn't be at that angle. Plus, there is another print on his chin, which is in the same place one of his hands is when he takes off his head in the poster. Hence why I mentioned both of these before this and why I'm bringing up his face 3 separate times on this list. Whose handprint do you think it is? Let me know in the comments, because I genuinely think it's Freddy's. Finally, and number 1, Jingle. When you do run out of power because you don't have any power conservation skills, you get taunted by the glowing face of Fredbear before the room goes pitch black and he jump scares you. Unless you're lucky as hell, which I was during our Help Wanted video. Oh no. Oh, crapula. Okay. Oh no. God. Oh god. Oh my god. Holy. However, if you pay attention to the song playing before the scare, it may sound familiar. If you're a fan of classical music, then you may know the song March of the Toreadors.